I'm Alex.
Doc, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining What's the Vibes.
Of course. Thanks for having me and thanks for stopping by.
Yo, what's going on out there, man? It's your boy DOC, and you are back with another episode on What's the Vibes. It is our neighborhood series, and today we have Alex with us.
Hi.
Everybody say what up to Alex. What up to Alex? She is the owner of Core Revival Pilates Studio in Crown Heights. So we just came to check out her space, and get to know her a little better.
Yes.
And yeah, we're gonna get right into it. So my first question to you is, what's the story behind Alex before Pilates? So what was you doing before this whole magic started to happen?
Ooh, okay. So before Core Revival Pilates, I was working in the corporate space. So a little bit of background, I studied business economics.
Oh, nice.
And then I ended up getting a master's in supply chain management. And I believe around 2019, I started working in the consulting industry. So I was in the DMV area, which is like DC, Maryland, Virginia. And I worked in that space. And at some point, I transitioned into the tech space, working in cybersecurity. So really focused on business resiliency, risk management, protecting companies' assets, essentially.
Yeah.
And then while I was working for one of those companies, I decided to become a Pilates instructor. Really just for fun, just so I can learn more, a little bit more about my own body.
Yeah.
They also covered a third of the certification. So exactly, I'm like, why not? And so that's what I did during that period of time. And I would teach after work, actually. Mm-hmm. So I would teach from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at Club Pilates. And I did that for about 2 years. Actually, and then I started to teach private sessions in my own apartment because I purchased a reformer just for myself and my own training.
Yeah.
But there were a few life changes, and I started to, get into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Until I decided this is what I actually wanted to do full time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's give it up for Alex. Business is tough. I got my bachelor's in business right now and everything. I'm getting from you that when you locked in on something, you really locked in. To go from business, then supply chain, and then that's a lot.
Yes, yes, it is. I mean, I'm a super curious person also, so I feel like I like to understand how things work because right after undergrad, I worked as an account manager, which is essentially working in the sales industry. I'd be selling a product, selling a service. And I think I just got really bored. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't really think I'm a salesperson, honestly. Being a salesperson is really hard.
Yeah.
And so I thought, you know what? I want to understand the behind the scenes.
The overall operations.
Exactly. How things work. How do we actually finally get to the point where I get the product and I sell it to you? Yeah. And so that's why I chose supply chain management at the time, which was super helpful. And I think it helps me understand from a consumer point of view who I purchase from and how things work.
That's dope. That's dope. So, when did you first fall in love with Pilates? Would it be once you started to take the classes, or once you just started to get your cert? Was it between the two?
You know what? That's such a good question because
maybe even now, it could have been just doing everything because you was curious about it.
Yeah.
But then when you finally open up your studio, you're like, nah, this is it.
Yeah. I would say as I started teaching, because initially I became certified so I can learn more about my body, and I remember telling the master trainer that I wasn't interested in teaching, to be honest. And there are so many ways to teach also. So you can teach group classes, you can teach private sessions. So it really depends on, what you like. And the only way for you to know what your style is and what you're into is by doing all of it,
Makes sense. Yeah.
And sometimes you can decide, I'd rather teach smaller groups as opposed to a group of 50 people.
50.
It's a lot, yeah. And so I feel like as I started teaching after I became certified, I thought, okay, I'm finding my groove and I know exactly, what I like. I really enjoy that, especially the one-on-ones with people when they come with different injuries or after 16 sessions with me, and they would feel so proud of themselves. Wow, I had this pain on my shoulder and I can't really feel it anymore, or I had this little issue and I was able to fix it just by coming to the session. So I think that's around that time where I felt okay, there's actual impact here. because, in the corporate space, we hear that word a lot, impact, what does it really mean?
Yeah.
And so being able to see it in real life, I think that's when I felt like, okay, I love this.
And it's crazy because it kind of ties back into like the supply chain almost, because like, when you was corporate, they push impact, but you don't see it. But now that you're on the other end of like even like giving services to consumers, you see the impact. Like, right? Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Just thinking about it, because I used to study like the supply chain a little bit. I was like interested in it as well.
Yeah,
and like you always want to see that full circle, big picture from when like we're buying a product to when the product gets to the warehouse to when we got to market the product, we're pushing the product, selling it, they get it, like the whole like yeah. Another question I have for you. So, as a Black woman stepping into the wellness industry, especially Pilates, was there any culture shock or challenges you didn't expect?
This sounds bad, but I would say no, only because we kind of know how it is, right? Like, we know there are not many people who look like us in a lot of industry, which again, it's really sad.
Right.
And so I wasn't really shocked. I was the only Black woman in my cohort, actually.
Really?
And we do like in studio classes. So there are different days where you're learning about the chair, you're learning about the reformer or the Cadillac. And sometimes if you miss a day, you can make up for it. And there was a Black woman from Richmond, actually, Virginia. She drove all the way to Tyson's to make up the class, and that was the only time I had another Black body to work with, and we used each other's body in the class too, you know. So it was great, but honestly, I wasn't really surprised when it comes to that, which is sad. But I think that you see a lot less women who look like us, a lot less men in those classes, even men who look like us. But even with instructors, you don't see a lot of Black instructors in the wellness space. And I think it's changing a little bit, you know. And I think like there are a lot more instructors who are popping out. So I hope something that continues to happen.
And that's great, because in those spaces that like we don't see us, that's what we need to be.
Exactly.
Especially something as important as wellness. You know what I mean? So like, you're doing a very dope thing getting this out there for us right now.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. All right, so now let's move into the business aspect of it all. What was the hardest part about launching a boutique studio in Crown Heights? Was it like the location, the building elements? Was it a little self-doubt? Like, what was just hard for you, like in the beginning of doing it all?
Okay, that's a really good question, and I think there's so many parts of it. The location, I found this space around like 2 a.m, honestly. I feel like I always find the best things at like 2 a.m. I come up with some ideas at like 1, 2 a.m. I was scrolling, and I think I looked for a space for maybe a year, honestly. And it was really hard to find. And I really focused on Brooklyn because I felt like there's a good demographic for it. As we mentioned earlier, in terms of like women who look like us, people who look like us in those spaces, there is definitely a big group of people who would benefit from this, which is something that I realized once I opened the space. But I think I found a space maybe in Greenpoint, and it was like super, super expensive. And I had some self-doubt, and I thought, oh my God, like I don't think I'll ever find a space that actually makes sense financially, because it's something people should also take into consideration, right? Like all of your overhead expenses, the payroll, what does that actually look like? How long will it take to break even?
Investment.
Exactly. It's a lot. And so I found this space around like 2 a.m. honestly. I fell in love with like the big windows, as you can see.
Amazing windows.
Yes.
Amazing windows. Even on your social media, like, you capture this whole studio very nicely. I know, like, when the sun hit it.
Oh my God, yes. Thank you. And so I was like, oh my God, this is perfect for what I have in mind and what I want to do. So I would say the biggest part for me was, okay, once I opened this.
Right, so after everything.
Marketing, clientele, what does that look like? I think that's the biggest part. Funding-wise, I felt comfortable enough to where I could use my savings. So I didn't use like a VC firm. I didn't take a loan. I actually used my savings. I planned this out. I had my spreadsheet, and I was like, okay, great. Like, this is what I want to do. I can do it financially. So what does it look like on a slow month? Because we do have that in Pilates where, like, especially in the summer, it's slow season.
Yeah.
And so I would say it was more, okay, marketing wise, making sure the clients are coming through the doors. They're staying. How do I get the clients to stay? But I felt pretty confident going into it. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And if it goes wrong, I can always get back up.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I love when things come together.
Yeah.
I want to get up for you one time.
Yes,
I love when things come together. I love that. So, what's something about running a studio that people don't see on social media? And I did want to ask another question too. Like for marketing and promotions and everything. Like I know in today's day and age, a lot of us rely on social media. Is that like the only outlet? Is there more after that? I know people like run ads through social media, or like is there more like the third party websites that people go on, like what's that, like Fiverr or things like that? So like
Okay, all great questions. I think that in terms of marketing specifically, I would say touching everything, right? Like social media, but then even on social media, you don't know what's going to hit. Like it could be a random video that you did not think people would relate to. They relate to it. There's obviously like the social media trend. Unfortunately, sometimes there's controversy and you hop on a trend and it works out. I think a lot of people found us through a controversy video around September about like Pilates and like being accessible to certain people and what it looks like in luxury. It was such a huge conversation. And I posted a video around that time and I think it garnered maybe like 200,000 views, and we had just opened up and we had the sell for single classes. So
it just aligned like that?
It just aligned like that.
That's perfect timing. It's nothing like what's meant for you will never miss you. Like no matter what. Like I really live by that. I stand by that. Even when times I feel like, damn, like this is not working out for me, it's just because like it's not ready for you yet.
It's not, exactly. And sometimes we're not ready to receive those things, because one thing, to go back to the first question you asked, like what is something people don't see? It is really hard, right? When you're running a business, a Pilates studio, it is a service-based business. And so the experience that you provide to people is really important. The customer service, the instructors, how people feel, if they feel seen. And like, what does that look like? What does it mean to them? I think that's something a lot of people don't see. It never stops. You're entering email at like 1, 2 in the morning. You're scheduling them. Obviously, you go out at 8 a.m., but there's so many things that, could go wrong. And because of the type of industry that it is, you're also working with employees who may be going through like a transitional phase. Like, for example, I worked in a corporate space and I was teaching for 2 years. There are people who teach full time, and you could decide to leave your job and to become an instructor. Once you do that, you're in a transitional phase to figure out, does this work for me? And people, they could quit, or maybe they're not a good fit. So there's just a lot of moving parts to make sure that people are receiving the service that they're paying for, but also making sure that you're retaining those clients as well and keeping them happy. So I would say that's one of the hardest things that people don't really see happening behind the scenes, is the client retention piece and like what makes a client stay at your studio. And then another piece for marketing that I wanted to bring up is a lot of people use ClassPass. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah, so it's basically a platform where a lot of different studios, it could be yoga, fitness studios, they use the platform to market their studio, and people purchase a membership with them usually. Yeah, and they get to try different studios. So when the studio launched, I also launched on ClassPass, and so they really marketed the space heavy, and it brought a lot of people, through the doors as well. So that was a really positive thing. And I would say your mailing list. Don't neglect that. Make sure that you're building your mailing list. You're emailing people. Obviously, don't send too many emails so they're not like unsubscribe. But I would say that's a really good thing. Having a QR code, when I first started, before the studio even opened up, I had the QR code so people could scan and actually join the mailing list. So that also was super, super helpful. And I would say word of mouth, like don't sleep on that. If people have a good experience, they'll tell their friends. They will let people know like, hey, there's a new spot that just opened up. You should definitely check it out. I think that's really important. So it all starts with how people feel when they walk through the door, if you make them feel seen.
That was a great answer to a very important question.
Yes,
You really were a business major. Because like I love this type of question mainly because nowadays it's like you go on social media, see somebody open a business and you think, oh, their business is doing well because they got so many views, or they shared it, or they just post a lot of videos that things just look aesthetically pleasing all the time. Yeah. But they don't really know what it takes to actually run a business. Yeah. So like you answered that question very well, and I hope all my audience out there was listening to that answer because it's difficult, like of course you're gonna reap the rewards in the long run. Yeah. But it is difficult to run a business. It's not everything you just see on social media. It takes like another level of like work and like dedication and effort. So
yes, definitely having each commitment and also not giving up. Every day is not going to be a busy day. Every day you're not going to make a lot of money. It's okay. Just making sure you know why you're here, what the goal is, provide people with a really good service, regardless of what that really looks like. And I think I mentioned feeling seen. I want to keep like talking about that because in Pilates, a lot of people feel like, oh my God, I'm a little bit intimidated. I don't know if I want to walk to the class, if people are staring at me. Is it okay if people who look like me take this class? Even that's a question that a lot of Black women ask themselves, honestly, or even men, right? Yeah. And so I think when we talk about making people feel seen, it could be like little things, it could literally be a cue that you give as you're teaching a class that make them feel comfortable. It could be something that they were going through and you mention something and it makes them feel like, okay, I feel good here. Yeah. It makes my day. It could be because you look like them, whether it's your body size, whether it is your skin color, whether it's because you had a knee injury and someone talks about it, and it's something that happens a lot in Pilates. Like, oh my God, I went through a knee surgery as well, and they start talking about it. It could be literally any little thing that will make people feel seen and feel like, what, this is a community. I want to keep coming here. I can relate to the people who are here, whether it's the clients, the owner, or the instructors.
Nice. Yeah. So that leads me to the next question, right? So what does the name Core Revival represent for you?
Yes. Okay. So I really went with that name, and I'm like, oh my God, that probably sounds really hardcore. So I hope people can relate to it. But your core is like such a huge part of the foundation of your body, right? It connects your upper body to your lower body. It's super helpful for movement in general, which is a huge focus of Pilates, right? It focuses on your rehabilitation, your movement, mobility, flexibility, all that good stuff. And so I wanted a name that brings us back to reviving parts of our body that is really, really important and needed. And so that's where the name comes from.
Nice. Okay, and y'all represented well here too, because I know for a fact that y'all be getting to it.
We do. We do.
All right, so I do have one question, regarding like the culture of like people who look like us. I know we touched on it before a little bit. But do you feel the wellness industry markets the Black community the right way? Like, what do you think is missing, or you think is like perfectly fine?
It's not perfectly fine. So let's just get that out there. It's definitely not perfectly fine. I think that it doesn't in terms of representation. And I think earlier I mentioned feeling seen is something that's so important, where it's like skin color or like your body, your body size. It could be the different injuries that you also, went through. I think that we can do a much better job at making people feel welcome and accepted in a space. And obviously there's usually a part of that comes with like self-doubt, knowing that I'm going to be in this space and continue to exist regardless of anything. But I think it could be so much better if we had, more instructors who look like us. And then when people come in, if you make them feel comfortable, it's not all about so many reps and sweating and things like that. It's all about small progress. And I tell people all the time, to me, Pilates means body awareness. Yeah. And a lot of people don't really know much about their body and how it functions. And that's, okay. I'm still learning. Yeah. So I think that we can do a better job in terms of like letting people know that we're all on the same page here. We're all trying, we're all learning, having more people who look like us in that space and making sure people know that you can exist here. And I say that because when that video went viral on social media, I received so many comments about women who would say, I'm plus size, can I come to class? Yeah. And I never really thought of it, as, to me it's like, why wouldn't you be able to come to class? But as a businesswoman, now I thought, oh, I didn't realize that's something that people would feel uncomfortable with, or it's a question they would even ask themselves. So there must be a reason as to why the person is asking that question. I'm like, of course, Core Revival Pilates for all bodies. Everyone, is welcome to come to class. But those are the little things that you really start seeing. And it's like, okay, well, how can I make it better so people know that you're welcome in this space? You don't need to be a pro. You don't need to be an expert. There are people who look like you who are here. We're all trying. Like, just be yourself. Yeah.
And that's a great way to look at it too, because like you said, feeling seen and anything that you do makes you feel more comfortable.
Absolutely.
And it's like it becomes like you feel relatable to the instructors. You feel relatable to the community here. Like you said, it's like if somebody says they have like a knee injury, like, oh, like I do too. Maybe we should work together, take our time with each other. Like I know for me, like if I was to come in and do a session, like the first thing I would tell you, like I'm slow foot, like my feet go out like this, and like I would want to, keep it straight, in order to do the class. So like if I tell you that, you're like, oh, Damien, make sure you point them toes, Damien.
Right? And like those are things that like an instructor would, pay attention to. Like I would pay attention to that. And, believe it or not, this happens to so many people in class. And it comes with the body awareness that I mentioned earlier. It's just reminding yourself, okay, this is what I need to work on. And the more you do it, it's more like repetition. It becomes second nature to you. But we'll always cue you, make sure your knees are aligned with your toes, work on that alignment. And we'll do the hands-on correction. And it becomes second nature, honestly. But knowing that, okay, I'm not the only person that this happens to, when people tell you, it starts with that. It's like, okay, don't just say okay, let them know this is normal, it happens. I'll be mindful of that as I'm queuing through the class, know. And usually instructors will tell you if you're uncomfortable with anything, let me know. Just let me know.
All right, guys. So first things first, thank you for staying with us here on What's the Vibes. If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video to you and all your friends out there. And thank you for staying with us. This is the segment where we get into the comfort zone. We talk about things that's kind of hits home and really makes you think about like where you're going in life at the moment. So my first question for you is, has there ever been a moment where you doubted yourself or the business? And if you have, what helped you push through?
I think that's honestly everyday thing that people don't really talk about. Anything that you do, there will always be those moments where you're asking yourself, am I doing the right thing, or will it succeed? What's going to happen? And for me, I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist, but I always want to make sure that, like, when I have the courage to put myself out there, to do the things, to fail in front of people, but also having people that I can rely on. So I think throughout the time that I was building this space, I, asked myself, okay, what happens if this doesn't work out, What's the plan B? And I'm a big plan B type of person, but I really told myself that you're going in, just go all in,
Do it.
Just do it. What is the worst thing that can happen? Obviously, be smart, like be strategic in terms of how you plan things out. But I would say it can be hard because some markets can be saturated, or even the marketing piece that we talked about earlier, making sure the right client, finds you. And that can be really hard. But I think that when you're a small local business, when you're really starting with no loan and just, using your savings, it takes a toll on you, and you start doubting, okay, well, what will happen if something doesn't work out? So I do think like I've had those moments for sure, but I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable where I know that every day is going to look different. And that's the beauty of doing this, and just accepting all of it. Not just when things are good, when things are not so good, when things are slow. It is okay. Exactly. It's all part of the process. It's going to make this business what it needs to be, but also even me as a businesswoman, just really being more well-rounded and understanding what to anticipate, what to expect for. It's more emotionally and mentally planning for what this journey is going to look like. Not just the highs, but also the lows and the in-betweens of it.
You got to be built. Like, you got to be built mentally. You got to be built, like, spiritually, too. You can't let it break you. And that leads to the second question. So running a business in New York City is no joke. So what's a mistake that you made early on that taught you something major? because a lot of the things you said too, it comes with experience, you know. Because like I'm sure, like your first one, you handle things differently than how you would your fifth or sixth one. You know what I mean? So, what mistakes you made early that had you like, all right, I'm not gonna make this mistake again.
Ooh. Ooh. Okay, honestly, I'm learning so much, you know, I think from customer service to client retention to marketing to employee. I would say using my discernment has been super helpful, and I would say sometimes that's the mistake that you make. And I would say that's probably one of the mistakes that I made, you know, like not using my discernment the way that I should have to make certain decisions. But
can you give an example really quick? A good one if you don't want to go too.
Okay, yeah, a good one. I would say just knowing what is the right thing, whether it's the right employee, the right business strategy, just knowing what is right, and also knowing what your goal and the mission of your business is.
Keeping your eye like right on the goal. Like
on the goal.
If it doesn't align,
it doesn't align. Okay. Yeah, so I would say overall it would be alignment. Actually, it would be alignment, making sure you're focused on alignment. You're doing this for a reason. Every client is not going to be your client. You know, you won't be able to retain everyone. It's not always a bad thing. Obviously, there are things that you want to look at as a business to make sure it makes sense, but just knowing that what's for you is going to be for you, using your discernment, making sure that things are in line when you're making a business decision is what I would say is important.
That's good. So with all of this that you have going on right now, right? How do you take care of yourself while running the business, running the studio that's built around like helping others and like catering to others so they could take care of themselves? So how do you take care of yourself outside of all of this?
Yeah, you know, that's such a good question because as Pilates instructors, we talk about that a lot. You know, your job is essentially to teach people, to take care of them, to make sure that they get, 45 to an hour sometimes to decompress and reset. This is their moment. And so you want to make sure they are getting that full experience. You're fully present for them as an instructor. They have the space to release. And sometimes as an instructor, you take that on, you know, you're meeting so many people throughout the day, you're teaching so many people, and there are times clients feel comfortable with you. They will share, you know, how their day went, you know, and things like that. And so,
I'm like empathetic and everything.
Exactly. And so it's like knowing, obviously, like setting boundaries, but also knowing that, okay, what does taking care of myself look like? So for me, I try to take extra time also, even if it's a 30-minute class, doing that for myself, even if it's when I get at home on the mat, not in a reformer. Even if it's a 5-minute stretching that day because I don't have time for a full class. It's really those little things. Or it could be just me taking 20 minutes before class, you know, make sure I arrive 20 minutes early so I can just sit with myself, you know, making sure I'm in the right mind frame. It's really just those little things.
It's good to hear you say that because, like, within all of these things that you're saying, it still, like, kind of revolves around, like, what you do here. That really shows that you love it. Y'all,
yes,
she really
I do.
loves what she do.
This
is not a game.
I really do.
The answer she gave of taking time for herself was still revolved around Pilates. So, Come on now.
Thank you. And you know, honestly, it's so interesting because another reason why I decided to open a studio, I remember telling myself that obviously people talk about soft life, you know, on social media.
Soft life, right.
You know, sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not, because soft life is expensive. And so I remember telling myself that I really want to take better care of myself in terms of like wellness. Like, again, I worked in the tech space in cybersecurity, and this year, many years before, there's been so many layoffs, and like I've gotten laid off personally in 2024 actually. And so I really told myself I really want to be in a space where wellness is the center of my life overall. And when I thought about opening the studio, it's something that I told myself, not only, I'm not just opening a studio just to open a studio, I'm instructing myself, but I really get to fully embody this thing that I'm selling to people. You know, it's not just me telling you, come take a Pilates class, like this is how I actually live my life. And I think that having wellness at the center of my life has been, you know, super helpful.
Great. I love it.
Thank you.
So, what was one myth about Pilates you wish people would unlearn? Because I heard a bunch of things that even made me feel intimidated.
What have you heard?
So for one, I heard like Pilates was like only good for people that look a certain way. Mm-hmm. I did hear that. I heard it fits one specific body type. Not even just a body type, a body color too. Honestly, I heard it was just for a specific group of people. We have no business doing
the wealthy, stay-at-home moms.
Yes. Yes,
Okay, so I would say the number one myth that I would tell people to forget about would be that that Pilates in general is all about luxury. I think that it is a myth. It's not true whatsoever. Yeah. You can do Pilates at home. Obviously, I have a studio. Come to the studio. Don't just do it at home. And I think it's helpful to have a certified Pilates instructor, to guide you. But maybe that's something that you're unable to do for a certain period of time, and you can still have access to that, whether it's on the mat at home, whether it's watching a video. So I want people to really understand that it can be accessible to you regardless of what you look like. I want people to know that you belong, especially people who look like me. Yeah. This space is made for us as well, and you can be yourself.
All right, y'all. Again, thank you for sticking with us. So the next segment we have is the impact. So we're going to ask Alex, about her impact on her whole vision here, her whole business, and everything. So when you see classes full, the mirrors is fog, people locked in, what does that do for you personally? Like an overflowing joy. That's like, I did this shit.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, that's honestly how I feel. I'm like, wait, I get this little tickle feeling, I'm happy. And also here, because of the way the windows are set up and the curtains are usually open, you'll get random people who stop by just looking. There's this one guy, there's another instructor, she sees this, she's gonna be like, yeah, Alex, he'll come by and he'll be like, yes, girl, he'll do that. And I'm like, it makes me so happy to see that, not only the class are full, people are getting the services that they paid for, they're excited, they're happy to be here, they're giving good feedback, or even things like, I'd like to see a little bit more of that. I'm like, okay, I got you. Survey coming in February. Let us know. Let us know how to make this space better for you. Yeah. But even, people from the outside, when they stop by, they're scanning that QR code or they're asking questions. Yeah. Even people driving by in their car, literally asking questions. It was the best thing ever because that lady was driving the school bus and I was here cleaning up. She was like, oh, I can do this. I was like, yeah. She was like, I have hip surgeries. You sure? I was like, yes. Full blown conversation. So it really does make my heart happy. I'm like, I wish I did this, sooner. I feel good. To me, that's what impact really is. Just seeing how people feel, the feedback that you're getting right then and there. Yeah, I'm overjoyed.
Let's go, man. Let's go, man. We love that. Yeah. So, what does success look like for Core Revival Pilates in the next 3 years? More locations, programs. What does it look like?
Oh, that's something I'm still thinking about, honestly, because I want to make sure that I'm growing this brand intentionally. Yeah. Obviously, sometimes you're kind of forced to grow a little bit too fast, people finding out about you, making sure that you're servicing everyone. But I want to be really intentional and growing this space. It is a boutique studio because I wanted a small and intimate setting where clients get that one-on-one interaction with the instructors as opposed to be in a room where you're 12 plus performers or 20 plus performers.
And just the headset that you speak.
Exactly. Nothing wrong with those spaces. Nothing wrong with them, but that's just what I wanted personally, where, I remember your name, I remember your face, I remember what your injury is. Yeah. That's something that I really wanted. So I think one thing I'd really want to do is taking Core Revival Pilates on the go, maybe having mat Pilates in different cities, in different spaces so they can also get to experience that. That's definitely something that I would like to do. And who knows, maybe more locations.
No, you're definitely going to do that. And I think you should go in the summertime, go to Prospect Park or Brooklyn Beach Park. Have an open space. I'll join that. Just a mat, flat surface.
You got it. Okay, but it's funny you said that though, because that's another myth with Pilates. Where people feel mat Pilates is
yoga
is not as hard as the reformer, but it is 10 times harder.
No way.
It's 10 times harder. It really is. And ask any instructor because you really using your own body weight. You're using your core. With the reformer, you can use like the straps. Yes, like the springs. You have something to help you like resist and control. But on the mat, there's nothing.
So let me second guess this. I'm
but
gonna get back to you. I'm gonna get back to you on like the Prospect Park thing.
No, you'll be there. You'll be there.
All right, and lastly, so can you talk about a moment, maybe with a client, that reminded you that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing? Like, was there a conversation that you had and it was like, yeah, like I'm in the right space? Like,
yeah, I honestly feel so good with every single client that I was fortunate enough to, talk to, teach. They all have like different stories. Honestly, they all come for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
But there's one client specifically that I can think of. She came to class and she mentioned that she had a hip injury. And she's like, I saw this on TikTok, and I think she said her daughter told her to come, and she's like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And she came to class and she's like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm like, you got this. You can do it. Yeah. So we started doing things, and naturally in a class, you'll plan the class, but you will have to modify, right? If someone comes to class and they have a hip injury, you don't know that ahead of time, and so you provide modifications for them. And so I was very attentive in helping her out. And I remember us using the chair at some point because she had that hip injury. She didn't think she could bend her knee up and down because the movement is also coming from that hip.
Right.
And I remember we're all sitting there and I'm cueing, and she kind of smirked. She's like, I don't know, I don't think I can do this. I was like, you can do it. And I was holding her hand.
Nice.
And she started doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, great. And then she got to the other side where that hip is actually injured, and she said, no, that one it's a no-go. Yeah. And usually you have to respect it, right? Like, there's that fine line between, yes, I don't feel good doing this, and I don't think I can do this, which is, what the conversation is. I was like, I got you. Let's try it. You don't have to bend the knee all the way high up. Maybe you're only 1 inch up, and that's okay. Just take it where your body's at today, and just be mindful of your own range of motion.
Yeah.
And I'm holding her hand, and she's doing it, and she just had this breakthrough. And after we were done, she actually did it, and I think she just realized, sometimes you tell yourself that you can't do something, but you physically do it. And she just had this breakdown and started crying, and she was like, it's okay, keep going. She just went to her bag and got some tissue, and she was just so happy at the end. And like, it made me really happy also to know that she went from, I can't do it, I won't be able to do it, to actually doing it and surprising herself and seeing, just that body awareness. Like, maybe if you tell yourself, let me try. It doesn't matter if I, do 10 reps of it. Maybe I'll do 2, and that's the small progress. That's okay. So I would say if you're watching, I won't say her name, but if she's watching, like, she'll hear it. Like, that made me so happy, and I think I'll always hold on to that story, honestly.
We love it. And that's what it's all about here, and that's what I'm getting from you too. So like, that is very amazing. That's very amazing. You definitely give somebody who's like, not only that you're like well knowledgeable on it, well experienced in it, this is something you really put your heart into. And that's the things that you got to surround yourself with. So anybody out there watching, here is the place to be. So make sure if you think about any type of Pilates, you come in here first, Core Revival Pilates Studio with Alex. This is What's the Vibe, and we're going to wrap it up with just like that.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming with us.
Of course. No, that was good. That was good. Thank you.